Anadolu Agency, Turkey. Mr. President, you are a very experienced leader. I think your analysis is very important for your region. What political and geopolitical changes do you expect in the region after Trump? For example, whether there will be peace in Ukraine in the near future. I remember very well that Belarus has also opened platforms for negotiations, as has Turkey. Thank you. You know, as an experienced politician, I have to tell you that I do not quite understand, and do not know what will change in our region after Trump comes to power. Here I am trying to evaluate it all, watching Russian television. Kostya, don't get involved in this, it won't be Belarusian. They're all Trump, Trump, Trump said it, Rubio said it. They stopped helping there for 90 days. These are some kind of joint programs. May you calm down. Everything is designed for this. Donald is a great artist, actor. He is a showman, businessman, and so on. Very cool. He knows how to do it. We also know how to do it. But he's also, you know, he has such a character that he doesn't hesitate to do it. Here I am ashamed to talk about some things with my openness. And he's not. He openly does this and dances, waving a saber. There is something else. Well, listen, well, you are the president of such a country. You have to think about how you will be appreciated on the other side of the screen. I don't want to offend you. The media is the most important thing in the life of any society. Well, don't exaggerate. This is the fourth power, not the first. And it's the fourth power that will make fun of you later, strip you naked. And so my Russian brothers got carried away with it, and I look at it, but they don't seem to have any topic. And ours too, sometimes suffer and say, and no, well done. Well, calm down. That's their problem. Let them do it. As soon as we start talking about it less in Turkey, Belarus, Russia, and China. Well done, Chinese. This is their 25th on the agenda, the 25th issue. Here we need to learn from these Chinese. And here we are, Trump. But he sees that this, as we say, has gone to the people, comes into the world. Well, they are moving in this direction. And Trump is a great specialist in this. Well, this is for an actor, not for the president. Therefore, we do not expect anything. We work calmly. I was at EMS. I was asked about Trump's policies and statements at the inauguration. I said it honestly. You can't do that. Are there no smart people around Trump to tell him, don't touch yesterday's president? Well, what is he doing this string of Makalin? Did you see him and Kamala Harris sitting there next to each other? Who watched the broadcast? Well, it was a pity to look at him. Well, he's nobody anymore, he's yesterday's president. I worked as hard as I could. What's there to say about this Harris? That woman was pushed out, there was no one there. She fought as best she could and, look, fought heroically. So you say it too. Therefore, all this is not good, and we must take it calmly. 100 decrees. 100 decrees will be signed. When we figured it out, including you, you noticed that it turns out that 78 canceled the old decrees, and 20 confirmed the decrees that were. So how many new ones? 2. Therefore, arithmetic counting. In general, you need to stop focusing even on him. Yes, a large economy, a third of the world's GDP there, maybe a little more. So what? Well, and a third. Where's the rest? In China, in India, in Russia, in other countries. And what resources? And Africa has woken up, it will no longer dance under the whip of the United States of America. It must be understood. So calm down. This is a character for the Turks and for my friend Erdogan. But he never strains. He can, excuse me, punch anyone in the snot, in the face, calmly said what he thinks. Therefore, we treat it in Turkish, calmly. We don't expect any handouts from America, but we want to cooperate with them. I understand that this is still the leading country in the world. It has a serious impact on the economy inside Belarus, our union with Russia, on the economy of China, well, all countries. Why should we quarrel? We will not solve global issues with America in the world. We know our place. As for peace in Ukraine, well, that's not a question for me. You have known my policy and position for a long time, especially in Turkey. 3 rounds of peace talks immediately after the start of the conflict took place on our land. And if I were to tell you in detail, and not even me, then you were the first to organize these tours, I told you, you would be amazed. These Ukrainians. Zelensky got out as best he could. We agreed to hold the first meeting in Gomel, let's say, at 11 in the morning. They arrived only at night. And frankly, I have already held the Russians. Guys, well, don't leave. They, yeah, well, we're going. If they don't want to, don't. Well, they will blame us later for not wanting to negotiate. They listened to me. And we just arrived at night. And that's always been the case. Then they said, no, in Gomel, it's dangerous here. The Russian border is not far away. We want the Beloveskaya cannon. All right. Please, in the presidential residence, which Khrushchev did not build me. Where? In nature, wherever you want. Vodka, moonshine, coffee, whatever you order, we will do everything. I organized it there. We conducted 2 tours. We will go to Istanbul. All right, guys, go wherever you want. To Kazakhstan, Istanbul, just don't stop the negotiations. Don't stop. People are dying. Even then it was clear how many people would die. But what kind of friend is this Zelensky? This is her friend, just so you know. We will show your photos as you were photographed in this very one. Yes, I'm not kidding. But was it? It was. It was. Here. Lukashenko said something about peace there recently. True, I heard the journalist's interpretation, but I don't think they distorted it. He wanted some kind of peace. And I kind of suggested to him, well, to strike at the Mazursky refinery. Listen, when I heard that, I felt sick. For me, this was absolutely unacceptable. To suggest Zelensky to strike at our oil refinery, the best, I would say, in the world plant, which we have recently modernized. Invested a lot of money there. I swear to you that there was no such thing. Why are you saying that? You're a bad showman. You're not even Trump. You can't say that, you're lying. I will ask him to hit the plant, but it wouldn't be a plus for me. And then I had to answer. So I was getting involved in a war. I never wanted this war. And I did everything so that this war would not happen. I'm not going to talk about the reasons. When I met with Westerners, here, Steve's colleagues, not colleagues, but citizens and so on. I give them only one example when we talk about the reasons. Okay, there are nationalists, it's all a matter of taste, the Russian language and so on. Why did you burn Russian people in Odessa? Why did you kill Russian people? Why did you persecute those who spoke Russian? Why? Do you want them to all speak Ukrainian? Well, slowly, all of Ukraine, unlike us, from the Russians there. They all spoke in their own language, in Ukrainian. I served in the West, I know people well. And by this time, quietly and calmly, everyone was diluted with a juicy Ukrainian move. There was no need to strangle people. Why did they do it? Publicly, in front of our eyes, Russians were killed in Donbass, and in Crimea, and in Odessa. Shouted at a Muscovite on a Gilyak there, and so on. What happened in Russia? There was a wave that rolled over Putin. I'm the same, I was standing next to him. Rolled on the way. Why don't you protect your own? Why can't you protect the Russians in the Donbass, in the Crimea, there and in Odessa? We discussed these problems with him. He says, listen, I'm already so pressed that there's nowhere else. And what if, I often give an example in Mexico, they started killing and poisoning Americans like this, how would Trump react? Well, here's just one example. I'm not talking about other meshes there. It is possible, it was possible, to exist peacefully with Russia. In any case, do not tear. I saw how, starting with Leonid Danilovich Kuchma and ending with Vitya Yanukovych, how they twisted their tail. Yes, we want to be in the Eurasian Union. A well-known fact. Putin announced to himself. I remember we sat down in the kitchen, drinking coffee, and I said to him, Volodya, nothing will happen. Leonid Danilovich was not farting. He won't do it in Ukraine. They don't think so. He says, I'm asking you, just don't leave. Well, let's work, what if? In other words, we wanted to be together, to speak humanly. And they are either 18 or 28 agreements, the basis of the Eurasian Union. Ukraine and I have prepared it all. And then once they disappeared. Even under Boris Yeltsin, he asked me so as a joke. We sat at the tennis club, played tennis, then at the bar there a little bit. He's dead. Listen, help Leonid Danilovich write the Constitution. And we held a referendum on the Constitution. I say in jest, if the older brothers instruct, I will write. Well, you're like that in Belarus. I say, good. And we will take into account the experiences of France and Russia and Kazakhstan. Nazarbayev pulled himself up. And we did it. Here's the joke started. But Kuchma did not go to parliament or anywhere. That is, it's been a long time since everything has been going on for a long time. And it's not about the maiden here. Well, Vladimir Vladimirovich is already talking about this maiden. That's their business, of course. We couldn't do it, we watched it with pain, but this is their maiden. They organized it there. The reason for this is corruption, inconsistent. First, we agreed with the Europeans, then we withdrew, then something else. But you've seen it all. The question is that they started making anti-Russia out of Ukraine. They did everything to make these peoples collide. But we have a way of colliding foreheads across the ocean. In the UK, they are good at it, but it would be a sin not to use it. But the West took advantage of this, first of all the United States of America. They pushed the inexperienced chatterbox hard. Talker, you can't say that, he's lying like that. They call these psychological operations. They pushed him against Ukraine. And just a few days later, I was talking to him. He was dusting there, shouting. I probably listened to him for 10 or 15 minutes, then I lie, Volodya. Answer me one question. Everyone is to blame, but not you. But where is the war going? On whose territory is the war going on? In Ukrainian. In Ukrainian. And the demand will be from you. This is the first one. Second, you relied on the West today. Everything is fine there. I swear it was. Volodya, the government will change there and the new government will forget about you. Can it be? No, that won't happen. We will fight together. If it's so humanly, it's not in the form of some kind of political frills there. It's humanly to tell you how it was. But we are supporters of peace in Ukraine. We need to take everything into account now. And Russia's position, there is nowhere without it. No America will force Russia. We must proceed from this. Never will. Here he will say, that's how Putin should do it. Trump. First of all, Trump is not an idiot, not a fool. He will not tell Putin so. And secondly, if he does, it will only be to the detriment. It is impossible to twist and turn us around here according to Nukati. We have our own interests, and Russia even more so. But we don't want war. We don't want people to die. Because not 600,000 or 700,000 will die, as Trump says today, without knowing the information, but millions will die. Who needs it? And this, if the Europeans are afraid of escalation, then this escalation can reach Europe. Therefore, we need to stop now. And this is in the interests, first of all, of Europe. And the Europeans must play their part. They understand that. But we need to detach ourselves from this American aircraft carrier and make a decision. This is our home. We have to make a decision. We will accept it. This year it's a decision. There will be some kind of denouement. I'm not saying there that the war will end and so on. We will probably be in conflict for a long time. We Slavs, if we start to conflict, it's for a long time. But there will already be a denouement. The light at the end of the tunnel will appear this year.
Thank you. You are taller than our colleagues from Italian television.
Thank you. Hello, Alexander Grigorievich. My name is Andriy, Bio Blue TV channel, Italy. The first question. I have two short questions if possible. 2 or 3 days ago in Rome, Italy, a group of Italian activists made a large poster where the Italian people can read for the legitimate president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko. You have a couple of grudges for these Italian activists. Yesterday, the European Parliament made a resolution where they said communist symbols as Nazi symbols. You see this as the first step of the offensive against the historical memory of the Belarusian genocide. Thank you. As far as I understand, the second question is related to this symbolism. A mask, right? When he's there. Did the European Parliament say the Nazi symbol as a communist symbol? Well, we know that. As for the portraits and activists, I am very grateful to you. And I am frankly glad that Italy knows not only about Belarus, but also about me. I am very, very obliged to these people. Thank you very much. I'm not exaggerating this fact, but it's nice. Thank you. As for equating Nazi symbols with communism there, and so on. It is clearly connected with the Soviet Union, Stalin at one time, and with the policy that we are pursuing today. They have linked it all. You know, they don't believe it themselves. There is nothing to comment on here. They don't believe it themselves. What is fascist, Nazi symbolism? Well, I just said, the price of this, we have 30 million dead in the war. And how many colleagues? It's even scarier after the war. And how many people suffered after this war? And how many years have we been restoring everything that was destroyed, especially in Belarus? Belarus was wiped off the face of the earth altogether. There was nothing here. Not a single building was left alive. In contrast, maybe from other territories of the Soviet Union. That's why we know what Nazi symbols are. I'm not in vain, but I said this about the mask. No matter what they justify it, when he openly zigs there, the Americans have become impudent, and this mask has already become impudent. Well, you know that let it go from America, that they were there under their own flag, and so on. But you know that this gesture, well, it has already become Nazi, as you said. And notice how the Jews swallowed it. Steve writes down why the Jews quietly swallowed it. Under this name, the Holocaust was carried out. Not a single Jew has condemned Musk and told Trump, "What are you doing there?" So maybe it originated in the United States of America, but then it was all discredited. That you go on the screen and zikush millions of people. Who did you bring good to? Are you bringing it? After all, we fought against this with the Americans. This has already gone crazy and befuddled. And I must tell you that there is a force that will stop them. They are all believers. The Lord really pitied Trump, not so that he would pursue such a policy and surround himself with such people. These are madmen, impudent madmen, and befuddled by a lot of money. Therefore, it is not us and the Soviet Union that should be condemned for Nazism, and so on. And here he is, he's alive. Rebirth is. They also interfere in other people's affairs. Already in the yuck, they will soon give you a new leadership. They will bring it from Washington. This is your policy, what you have reached. Therefore, calm down and begin to revive and restore relations in the East. Do not lean on one wing. Then you always reproach me for the fact that some say that I am sitting there on a chair with one leg, and others that on two. So you decide whether you are sitting on two or on a chair with one leg. I say again, instead of Stalmer you. Stalmer, in my opinion, is a surname. They'll bring it to you soon from Washington. The mask.
Thank you. And here is a blogger from Armenia visiting us. Mikhail, please.
Hello, Alexander Grigoryevich. First of all, I would like to start with words of gratitude for my happy childhood. Because it was held in Belarus. I grew up in the city of Brest. And indeed it was. I had a hard time in the 90s, but here they were not as hard as they were in other countries. There were no nationalities in this country. There were people, good people, bad people. Today we were separated. A lot has been done today to make us stand against each other. A number of post-Soviet countries are led by openly anti-national forces, such as in Armenia and Moldova. I believe that today we and our organization, at Eurasia, are very actively engaged in rallying our people from the post-Soviet space, the Eurasian space. We are fighting against the rewriting of history. We are fighting for traditional values. Do you think we will be able to build this Eurasia together, a greater Eurasia, which is being talked about a lot now, and unite everyone around these traditional values? Thank you. When you ask this question, Mikhail, I think, thank God, that there are still young people of your age who have similar ideas in their heads. Remember the 90s. You were a very, very young man. But who would have thought that we would talk about a united Eurasia like this and so on and so forth? Everyone was befuddled by the nationalism of freedom, independence, sovereignties, and so on. Everyone was thinking about it. They thought to separate somehow, and that it would bring joy and wealth to these peoples. Today, we have already understood and started moving in this direction. And this process cannot be stopped. How united will it be? Is it Eurasia? Of course, everyone has their own interests. Turkey has its own interests, China has its own interests. I'm talking about the big players. India, there are contradictions with China too, you know. The Russians have their own interests in the big ones. Armenia also has its own interests, as does Belarus. It will be more difficult for us to influence, but our voice is heard, that Belarusians, that Armenia is only fools. It is not necessary to allow this fool, as the Armenian leadership has done. I can't get around this question. They are offended at me that I supported it and heard it in the media today. Our journalists reported it. Azerbaijan supported it. It's the Lord with you. I have always supported common sense. I have always been in favor of not having a war so that we don't fight with each other. And at that time, Ilham Aliyev, we can say anything. He took a pragmatic position. I told you frankly, when we were there in the Stowe, we presided over this very Eurasian Union, or our military political organization. I was like a kid running between them. There was also a Serb Sargsyan before him. Aliyev, well, we have to do something, we have to. Well, Aliyev, I remember, as I remember now, put a card in front of me and said, yes, I'm ready. They didn't even have a goal to fight with Armenia at that time, so that the war would happen. He put down the map and said, Alexander, well, look, here are 5 districts. Who of Karabakh? I say, what's there? And there can be nothing. No, there is a desert, fertile lands. Well, it is clear what lands are for Armenia and Azerbaijan. This is not even Belarus, and especially not Russia, and not a valuable resource. Here they are 5, and they recognize that these are Azerbaijani lands. We need to give them back. We will. Oil has risen in price. We will sell it, invest there. We will restore these areas. More than 1 million refugees from all regions to the territory of Azerbaijan. And here, he says, are 2 partially districts. In my opinion, 7 districts there are 5 plus, 2 are partially occupied. He told me all this, showed me. Well, he's joking. We have been friends with him since the days when my father worked. I am Ilham. Well, you know, it's a stinky policy. It's always worth something. He understood it verbatim. Here's Alexandrovich. Now we are laying the route of gas and oil pipelines. There is that they bypass Armenia. I'm ready. It will be income for Armenia. It will be good money. I say, well, that's good. But when are 5 billion ready to invest? I'll give you $5 billion. I say, maybe it won't be enough. Well, I'll pass it all on. I come to him, I say. Then publicly in Armenia and the military organization of his presidency. I said it publicly in front of everyone. It's in the transcript. To which Serge took offense at me. They say, almost it's not our business. Well, okay, not ours, so not ours. They started fighting. What do I have to do with this? We live thousands of kilometers away. Did I start this war? What happened, the results of these battles, I openly say, is the fault of your leadership in Armenia. Only their fault. Even after they lost this war, no one pulled their tongue. Ilham is already speaking openly about this, too. They said that we recognize what happened in the Soviet Union, and Stepan Kurdi, Karabakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, is actually the territory of Azerbaijan. Listen, Putin and I are dumbfounded. I'm calling since you've heard. I heard it. Putin, why did he say that? And no one pulled the tongue. I say, here I want to ask you, are you a sweat eater? He says, I didn't interfere at all. I'm surprised. In other words, Pashinyan himself refused Nagorno-Karabakh, although at that moment Ilham was ready to agree that this was a territory where Armenia would have a serious influence. Well, that kind of gift. Who won't use it? What does that have to do with me? But the question is not about me and Belarus. They decided to shoot me, but do you know who they wanted to hit? Who doesn't understand this? Furthermore, they have now started flirting with the European Union. Listen, the most dangerous game. He will destroy Armenia. Calm him down there. He will destroy Armenia. He has a problem on the one hand. From the east, he has a problem from the west. He also turns Russia against him. Well, Georgia is his. That's right, that's right. He is surrounded, a small territory, sorry. The size of the state is not estimated, but nevertheless. The population is not gigantic, and he surrounded himself with enemies. Now the European Union will start helping him there. Doesn't he understand what happened in Ukraine? I see. Well, okay, Ukraine, but Georgia is nearby. He will destroy the country. I'm sorry that, well, you dragged me into this question there. He will destroy it. I know it from my experience, so he needs to be calmed down. We cannot allow a war in the Caucasus. And why allow it? Armenia is the most beautiful people, clever girls. I often joke like this, I say, Jews are smart people, but you have serious competitors. I sometimes do this in a narrow circle, but I already say it publicly. Therefore, an educated people. The lands are good, you know how to live and work. It seems that you are living well here in connection with these sanctions, and you somehow got up there and so on. But take advantage of this. Why are you quarreling with us? What will it bring you? Well, don't quarrel with us already. If you want to go to America, go. But don't lose it, what you have. This is a big stupidity. Moreover, Ukraine, Georgia shows you what can be. Therefore, these forces, as you called them, are anti-national. At first, they were shouting at the analysts, but now you see, well, this should have been expected. Watch the Sang meeting in St. Petersburg. As soon as Nikolaevich became prime minister, we had violent clashes with him. I, however, was rude then, I will not disclose it all here. Called him a Soros man there, and so on. And I say, you will lead Armenia to war. And so it happened, and it happened. And today he offends me. Why are you offended with me? I didn't fight on the side of Azerbaijan. I didn't fight. He ordered weapons they bought from us. Maybe he bought Azerbaijanis, but we were open to Armenia. Please, if we have something, buy it. Whoever paid the money received the goods. We had nothing against the Armenian people, especially. I have friends of the Sea Armenians, both rich and poor. I have great respect for the Armenians. I say, good girls. The people are very smart, very similar to Belarusians. All of us. We have neither oil nor gas there, nor huge resources. We are all from brains, from hands, from calluses. Therefore, I don't have any such mood. Well, and the fact that it's a rabid policy, well, so it is. You have already seen this. Therefore, you also need to somehow. I am sure the Armenians will worsen their situation with this. Of course, it's not good when there's such a mess inside. But the Armenians will not give up their country. I am absolutely convinced of this. Only Caucasians, especially Armenians. No.
Thank you, please. But Konstantin Pridivavila.
Good afternoon, Alexander Grigorievich. Well, you sit down. What have you already jumped up? Habit. And I haven't seen you for a long time. I brought it. Democracy. A cruel democracy, as they say. I have brought you many warm greetings from virtual Russia. A lot of people write and support. Someone was upset that it was impossible to vote not on the territory of Belarus. Someone bought and came. I reacted, Kostya. Me. This was reported to me at the embassy. Well, it's clear, since they closed it. We have not opened these voting points abroad. I asked, and there are such sincere people there. I asked the embassy, well, thousands of Russian citizens and Belarusians who live there apply to the embassy. I say, well, if it's not a problem, strike a postcard and send it to the presidential administration. I will know that you support Belarus. Even if it's not me, it's Belarus. Well, these are the cards we receive. I'm aware of the situation. I reacted. Well, it turned out that way, although it was our mistake. Probably, in Russia, we should not have opened polling stations. Chaum made a decision. It was a wrong decision. Well, Belarusians in Russia would be grateful, but they are so happy, satisfied. I'll tell you a secret. Continuing, there were a lot of questions about the situation in Ukraine. And so, answering the questions of my Turkish colleague, I had a question. Alexander Grigorievich, and you will insist that Belarus be one of the most important participants in the negotiations. After all, Russia on the one hand, Ukraine from the southwest on all sides, the Baltic states are angry. It is impossible to do without Belarus. Thank you for this question. He often twists and turns this question as if Lukashenko will go crazy if he is not at the negotiating table. It's not about Lukashenko. There are no personal ambitions here. I already have. Look, I've been sick with personal ambitions. 30 years as president. What personal ambitions? I just proceeded from 2 points. The first is national interests. Well, there are at least our interests on this piece of land, the Belarusian people have. Secondly, I proceeded from the fact that it is Volodya Zelensky who constantly promotes guarantees of peace and security in this region. But if you want these guarantees and peace of mind, then it is necessary that the interests of everyone be taken into account, as far as possible. And all participants of this process who live here, including Belarus, should be involved in this. Small, big, it doesn't matter. There are Lithuanians, Latvians, Estonians, and Poles. They are all eager to go there. And Zelensky welcomes it and the West. Why? Because, well, this is our space. There can't be complete security without us. Therefore, here are two issues, our interests and security in the region. I proceeded from this. But I'm telling you honestly, so that I go crazy like this, so that we should be at the negotiating table, I don't have it. Well, issues will be resolved there without me. Well, the older brother will be there. The president of Russia will also be there. There will definitely be no negotiations without him. Do you think that he will not support our position, the Belarusian one? Moreover, it is absolutely not burdensome, neither for Russia, nor for Ukraine, nor for the West. So, well, thank you for asking this question. I want to say that, well, no, it's like our experts are shouting outside the country that Lukashenko needs to take something from him now. Some obligations, release political prisoners, and so on. He should be demanded from prisons because he really wants to be at the negotiating table. Complete stupidity. If we want there to be peace, tranquility, and tranquility here, we must be involved in the future, so that it will be good for these negotiations. That's my position, and that's it. And nothing personal. If I allow one more short question. I watched an amazing show on Friday night, the finale of this big marathon of unity. On TV, there was no time to come here. I would have come, they wouldn't have called. Well, of course, they didn't even bring it. I'm just kidding. I don't know the way. I would have come with great pleasure, but you. I want to make a claim to you, if I may. Why, first of all, brought me to tears, and a huge number of people, when they made their fiery speech. You said there the phrase you will build, addressing the people, the country may even be without me. I confess honestly, Natalia Nikolaevna, I don't know. I cried sitting at home, and wrote to all my friends that this is the moment that probably touched me. I have a question for you, Alexander Grigorievich, and in the context of just this conversation with Vladimir Putin. We are all worried about, frankly, the 2030th year. Do you have a plan with Putin for the 2030th year? The elections will be in Russia. The elections will be in Belarus. As for the tears, but yes, it was calculated, Bone. May you miss a tear. Well, if so, jokingly. I spoke sincerely, so it all broke down to tears, like some of our people. Sincerity always captivates. This is the forte of my politics. I always try to speak sincerely. I lie a little, I almost don't lie. I think it's better to keep silent than to lie, because then it will come out and Alyona Sarova criticizes you first. As for when I speak without me, it's to ensure that everything is calm in the 30th year. Because I'm not eternal. I understand, these white people have already buried me there. Then I die, then God forbid. I picked up some kind of infection somewhere there. We have some kind of mushroom here in Russia. We have swine flu there. As much as one-on-one, or a one-and-on-one, what is it called here? Well, I was tumbling with it at hockey there. Everyone will be photographed there, hugging back and forth. Everyone is sweaty, dirty, and so on. Well, I probably picked up this wheeze. Therefore, as usual, I have to talk a lot. I have lost my voice. I've recovered now. That's it. Dying. Dying. I'm not going to die. And God grant, I had the same health as before. I don't want to anymore. That's what it was. As for the 30th year, since we all understand perfectly well that I am not eternal. And that's the anger I can tell you. Of course, you will start to make some nonsense. Someone will distort. But it's easy for me, because Natalia Ivanovna, A member of the Security Council is sitting here. I didn't want to go to these elections. I didn't want to. And a few months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, Natalia Ivanovna, at the last Security Council, was among the people who decided this, interested in this. I said that, guys, well, as long as it is possible, somehow even, well, 30 years. Clean, well, outwardly it's even somehow indecent. I'm not at ease anymore. I feel as if there is no one. I don't know why I'm talking about Natalia Ivanovna. She was the first to get up. No, I haven't seen her like this. How so? Are you leaving everything? Are you leaving? We're not ready today. Well, she said so, she says so, and I meet people. We are not ready to see another candidate today. I say, well, you're not ready, folks. And let the people nominate. No. And so it went. I withdraw this question. Because I know the mood of people. We'll know everything by tonight. So she raised the issue. I understand that the Security Council, your subordinates are mostly there, not mostly, but everyone and so on. I understand all this, but I have already learned to distinguish between sincere and insincere. And I have seen that people speak sincerely. So that's it, I've already closed. But I'm not going to run. I'm not going to run any campaign there. I'm going to work as president. Here we have planned to open it, and this is where the labor came to the masses. Well, I escaped. People, we want to meet with the president. Very well. I see there are 1,000 people in the shop. What, driven away? No, people themselves. We came here ourselves, we want to talk to the president. We decided to open a technopark, this is very important for us. We create small production facilities. We see a big demand for technologies and other things. We replicate. This is very important. But I once gave a start to this. Buses have started to produce a new one. I also once commissioned the plant to be built. So I came there. I've been using artesian water for almost 5 years. We laid a corpse from underground to Stalin's for more than 100 kilometers. But we have to provide Minsk. We will not take it from open sources. Important. People are happy. Well, they called Vladimir Evgenyevich Kukarov, the mayor of Minsk. Sanish, well, let's go and open it. I say, listen, they will say that I am campaigning here. So you promised 5 years ago. I pick up the documents too. So I drove through these places, but I didn't say anywhere that you vote for me there. And even now, it has broken itself to tears. I didn't say they're guys for me. And when I said that without me, this is the peculiarity of our country. If 5 years ago, we saw that we had a certain number of crazy people, and you know, not the majority of the authorities always turn the country around. A wild minority. Take the 17th year. How many Bolsheviks did we have here in Russia? Less than 100,000. They turned the country upside down, took power. And for many others. Therefore, there were such. Today it's over. Belarus is different. They got vaccinated, they know where to go, they understand. Yes, we have parasites there, and those who do not want to work, but they are a terrible minority. A terrible minority. These are hard workers, mostly Belarusians. That's why I say, even without me, no one will turn off. We are not determining our fate, you have heard, we are not determining our fate today. We have identified it for a long time. And this one day will not change anything in Belarus. I proceeded from this. We will build what the people like today. In the evening, we will find out how much. Talk about the future. As for the future with Putin and so on. Look, there are a lot of options. Russia has started to develop in a slightly different way, but now you know more where it is leaning and so on. We are, well, even before your eyes it was. We somehow started this path exactly from Mikhail with Armenia. He said so. He had a subtext to it. We didn't wobble anywhere. Why are the communists today? Even though I'm not the head of the Communist Party there, and so on, why don't they want to vote against me? Because we did not abandon the communists and the policy that the Communist Party pursued in the Soviet Union. We took a lot positively. I have always said, do not discard the previous generation of developments. We wouldn't be worth anything if we didn't use what the generation before us created. And it's creepy if the generation worked, the generation of winners, and so on, and so on. Someone came and threw it away. We had these. What did it lead to? In Ukraine, there are Baltics, and so on. Whether it will still be? No, it is necessary to build evolutionarily without revolutions, and everything should flow from the past. The future must be based on the foundation of the past. We have not given up on this. Therefore, people support this course today. How much? We'll find out in the evening. Putin and I are discussing the issue of our future, but we are taking it bit by bit. We are already experienced people, and putting together the best bit by bit so that, well, if we fail to do this, we have already laid a strong foundation. We will strengthen it further, so that our children move in this direction. Therefore, yes, we are discussing how we will live, how we will cooperate. But nothing like that. Once again, I want to justify myself. Unfortunately, I have to do this. There was nothing like this in our conversations, that we would unite into one state and absorb each other. Why? We are smart people. Today, we have created an idea and are creating such a unique union formation, which the planet did not know at all. Not everything goes so painlessly, but we are moving forward, overcoming all sorts of blockages and difficulties. Therefore, we will build something that Armenia will envy. We still have Moldova on top, all our friends. Yes, thank you. Therefore, everything is quiet, calm, respecting other nations.